See the greatest dirt late model stars in the country compete for $10,000 to win on both Thursday and Friday, and an enormous $50,000 to win 75-lap main event on Saturday. The High Bank Heist, May 15th through May 17th at Eagle Raceway. For more info, visit eagleraceway.com. Let's go Lucas Oil Late Model Racing. Eagle Raceway, just 10 miles east of Lincoln on O Street.
I get it, slip it, cuff it, check it twice a day.
I get it, slip it, cuff it, check it in the morning and before dinner.
I get it, slip it, cuff it, check it, and share it with my doctor. Nearly 1 in 2 U.S. adults have high blood pressure. That's why it's important to self-monitor your blood pressure in 4 easy-to-remember steps. It starts with a monitor.
Now that I know my blood pressure numbers, I talked with my doctor. We're getting those numbers down.
Get it, slip it, cuff it, check it. Talk to doctor now and share it.
Be next to talk to your doctor about your blood pressure numbers. Get down with your blood pressure. Self-monitoring is power. Learn more at manageyourbp.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council, the American Heart Association, and the American Medical Association, in partnership with the Office of Minority Health and Health Resources and Services Administration.
Dance like a dad. It's a great way to make a moment with your kids. First, I hold my hands out like they're on a steering wheel. Then I look over my shoulder. Next, I put it in reverse. Visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
On the Block with Eric Strickland, Jay Foreman, and Austin Orman.
The goal for those coming on the road, let's go get that first. And then here's what'll happen. There'll be you'll kind of be lackadaisical. Instead of keeping that energy, why not too? Instead of keeping that energy, you'll probably see just a little bit more ease of play, because in the psyche, we did what we came to do.
Every weekday from 3 to 5 on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Hi, this is Pastor Tom. Did you know there's a place kids can seek out help when they're away from home and something goes wrong? They find themselves in a difficult spot or even a dangerous situation. Maybe another child is bullying them or a stranger is following them. Perhaps on a date and things just go bad. In Lincoln, here's where they can find help. It's called Safe Place. Safe Place is a national program for children taking place in thousands of cities across the United States. The People City Mission is sponsoring this program in our community and has set up a number of businesses, fire stations, schools, and nonprofits around the city to become safe locations where kids can seek out help. They just need to look for the big yellow sign that says Safe Place on it. Then go inside and ask for help. We will be quickly connected to them and ensure they make it back home or to whatever resources are needed. If you'd like to find out more about Safe Place and ways in which you can get involved, just go to pcmlincoln.org. Remember, when we all do a little, we change a lot.
This is it, Husker fans, your final chance to see Nebraska baseball at home this season. It starts Tuesday, May 6th with a huge rivalry matchup against Creighton. Then it's a Big Ten showdown as the Huskers host Michigan May 9th through 11th. Every game matters and your support can make the difference. Great seats are still available, but they're going fast. Get your tickets today at huskers.com/tickets or by calling 1-800-8-BIG-RED.
Hi everyone, Kendall Warnock, A1 Automotive in downtown Lincoln. Spring is here, summer is fast approaching. With weddings, vacations, and weekend getaways on your mind, do not let car issues prevent you from getting where you need to be. Car problems shouldn't be something that you put up with. Let us get you back on the road in comfort and safety. We diagnose all makes and models from Porsches to Hondas, Toyotas, and Chevrolets. We fix a variety of issues with all of them with our talented techs and our experienced staff. A1 Automotive at 11th and L, downtown Lincoln, always honest answers.
On the Block with Eric Strickland, Jay Foreman, and Austin Orman.
The goal for those coming on the road, let's go get that first. And then here's what'll happen. There'll be you'll kind of be lackadaisical. Instead of keeping that energy, why not too? Instead of keeping that energy, you'll probably see just a little bit more ease of play, because in the psyche, we did what we came to do.
Every weekday from 3 to 5 on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
A smoke-free environment is the only way to fully protect from the dangers of secondhand smoke. That's why smoke-free policies are so important to me. Whether it's in my car, apartment building, or when I'm dining outdoors, there's no place for secondhand smoke or e-cigarette aerosol. Breathe easier knowing the facts. Visit smokefree.ne.gov. Paid for by Tobacco Free Nebraska. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com.
On the internet.
KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket. Coming at you live from the heart of Lincoln, America. This is What's Brewing with Chancellor Brewington on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Here is your host, Chancellor Brewington, powered by the Teammates Mentoring Program.
All right, welcome in to What's Brewing. Chancellor Brewington, Harrison Arns taking over on a Saturday here. We got Chancellor Brewington on the ILO VIP line where they understand the importance of exceptional service with a local heart. Chancellor Brewington, former Husker tight end, how's it going on a beautiful Saturday? At least it is around these parts in the city of Lincoln, Nebraska.
I'm doing great. This week has been awesome. It's, kind of the end to almost the end of the weekend, of course, but it's awesome. And, I'm blessed to be on the show. I hope everyone listening is having a fantastic day. Got some fun stuff to talk about. Obviously some basketball. Right off the gate, Harrison, Derek Carr retires. I don't know. I think that was released today, or was it last night? But Derek Carr retires in Saints quarterback. Did you see that one?
Brewington, you're scaring me here. No, if that's true.
Yeah, it's the number one story on ESPN right now.
Wow. Yeah, QB Derek Carr retires. You got to be kidding me.
If you're the Saints, I think did the Saints get a quarterback?
Say that one more time.
Did the Saints get a quarterback?
Well, they passed over. Do they still got Spencer Rattler on that squad yet? I think they still got.
Oh no, they got Tyler Shook.
Yeah, that's right. That was the big shocker out of Louisville.
And that's my high school quarterback. So I guess he's gonna be the quarterback. Give me
the Tyler Shook experience then, since that was your high school quarterback.
Yeah, so I've not only high school quarterback, but we grew up playing youth sports together. We played little league and club ball, and so I know his family real well. But he's when I talk about the prototype quarterback, not only from the cerebral side, and this is honestly a non-biased look. If you're around the dude, you would get it. But super humble, but also just knows football, lives and breathes it. He was a shortstop back in the day, so he has that unique arm angle ability. There's a video of him at Texas Tech. I think they're playing Wyoming or something, and he throws a ball. Or he's at Louisville. I think they're playing Clemson or something, but he throws a ball and his elbow is skimming the ground. It's almost like Brock Purdy, that throw that he had at Iowa State, but just super, super dynamic in his arm angles, but also, he's a 6'5", 240, probably not 240, probably 235, 230, around that range. Can run though. That's the interesting part about him. He ran a 4.6 at the combine.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the only critique that people have had of him is that he kind of has he just is an aggressive runner, and he doesn't like to go down. He doesn't like to slide. Right. So, that was kind of what some of the shoulder issues from, I think it was his Texas Tech days. But other than that, man, great arm talent, can throw the ball, 70 plus yards. But I think the biggest thing for him is he's 25 years old. Right. And he's an older guy, but I think that plays into the IQ game. And I think he's ready for the task. So that's my kind of my synopsis on Tyler Shook.
I'm excited by it. How surprised were you, or not at all then, since you grew up watching him? Because that was the big one where I thought Shador was going to probably be drafted by the Saints. I figured if he was going to get passed up, I could see, because I think the Saints were the 9th or 11th? Even though they picked him, didn't even use that pick for him. They passed up on Shador there, and then later in the rounds they picked up Shuck. But were you surprised to see him go as high as he did amongst like the guys like Dylan Gabriel, then obviously Shador being the big one that slid?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I heard kind of just throughout like the journey was just like he just was one of the best interviews that most of the teams had at the quarterback position.
Yeah, maybe that stuff matters because you heard a lot about Jackson Dart as well, about how good those interviews were. And like, hey, you're not to always like keeps beating up on Shador Sanders, and it's all said and done with. But maybe that stuff does matter, as to where you might end up being drafted at. Because the guys who had really good interviews, you hear that a lot. That quote unquote, were surprised or they got drafted a lot earlier than anticipated. And then the guys that slid, almost all of them had the quote unquote bad interviews.
Yeah, and I think that's a real thing. There's a documentary that just came out 2 days ago. I don't know if you saw it yet, but it's Shooting Guards with the Gilbert Arenas story with the bring guns into the locker room.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard? Yeah. So talking about interviews, in his combine interview, I forget what team it was. They asked him what his goal is, like what type of NBA player he wants to be. And he said he wants to, like his response was he wants to be a pimp, like a PIMP, like a pimp. And then the reporters or the guy questioning him was like, what? And he was like, oh no, I mean an international pimp. And so like that's ridiculous, right? To say I think if you go back and they talk about in the draft process, like he was supposed to be like a top 10 pick. Richard Jefferson gets picked, in the first round before him, and he was like the third best player on the team at U of A at the time. Because I think you had like Channing Frye and Gilbert Arenas and all those guys there. But like, I think it goes to the point that how much those interviews matter. Gilbert Arenas ends up dropping to the second round, going to the Warriors, and ends up working out kind of in the long run. But like those things matter. I think especially at the quarterback position, I think those matter the most. Like I think you want to obviously like quarterback. I think the centers, like playing center, you're literally leading 4 other old linemen, and they go at the beat of your drum, and you call out IDs and mics where the blitzes are coming from and all that good stuff. So I think the quarterback, the center, then also like middle linebacker and like safeties on the defensive side of the ball, like guys that get people lined up, they just have to know the game better than most. And I think that's something probably in the interview process that you want to be able to have like a clear check. Yes, that this dude knows the game of football. And also at the quarterback position, you have to be vocal and lead. And so I think the Jackson Dart interviews was awesome that they released some of those, because you got to see like, him take initiative on the whiteboard, him know what they're talking about. And like some of the stuff has nothing, some of the stuff has nothing really to do with like throwing a 10-yard out. Right. But like, it's just like a cerebral mind trick game. Like, I love. I don't know. Have you ever watched the John Gruden when he brings the quarterbacks in?
Oh, I love those. The QB series he has, QB camp. I love them.
Yeah, they're awesome. But it shows I love the Quinn Ewers one, and who else did he bring? He brought Jackson Dart on there.
Yeah, Jackson Dart was a fun one because they were going through his snap. And they don't mix it a whole lot up there at Ole Miss apparently when it comes to the snap count.
Yeah, it's just a clap. They don't even say nothing.
No, it's a clap every single time. Like I couldn't even the on twos. No, it's interesting. The biggest thing that always sticks out to me is, how we have all these quarterbacks, and you think about how great they are via the stats and everything on top of it, but you do get a good peek about how different all these systems are. And you get a sense of like how there are some, and this isn't just quarterbacks. As I was talking to Forum about this, they're going to be really great players, and then you'll be so excited because you got said 4-star, and then in reality, they don't fit your system at all. And then you're so high on this guy, and then a year later he transfers out, and you're wondering why. Well, he never really fit the system to begin with. He came here to play an edge, but because the way you play, maybe you end up wanting to move him inside, and he doesn't really want to play inside. He wants to play on the outside. Things like that, I especially with 105 roster, I do think coaches are going to be a little bit more sure that the guy just fits the system as opposed to chasing the stars.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think eventually there has to be some type of investigation, or just like you got to reconsider how we're doing the star metric, because it's so outdated, and it just at some point it doesn't reflect talent. It only reflects interest of schools, and I think that's what messes up players. Because I remember when I got to Nebraska, and this is no shade, this is real talk. Like, I came from a smaller school where, the 3-star, if there was a 3-star on school that I was at, like, that was big time.
He was
like,
a dog.
that was big time. And then so now, like, being in a locker room with, like, there's 4 at the time. I don't know if there's any 5-stars. A Trey Palmer, but I mean, when I first got there, I don't think there was any 5-stars that I knew of.
Fedoni, was he a 5-star?
Oh yeah. So Fedoni.
I mean, he wasn't after the injuries, but I think when you got there, he might have been a 5-star.
Yeah, and so I guess most of the team are 4 and 3 stars, right? Like, because think about it. If you have a Nebraska offer, you're most likely going to get majority of the Big Ten, right? Unless you're a local kid. Take all the local kids out. If you're outside of the state of Nebraska, if you have a Nebraska offer, you probably have like a Purdue offer, and you probably have a Northwestern, or maybe not Northwestern, but you have like a Wisconsin and maybe Penn State, or maybe Iowa offered you, right? So like,
you're getting all the power forwards for the most part. If you're not saying like Bama and Georgia, but I'd imagine you're getting at least a letter from one, school in every Power 4.
Right. And so what happens is like you just get labeled a 4-star because of the interest. It's not like there's real player value, like evaluation, saying like, okay, I like the way he runs routes and he does this and he has good instincts, and this is like, it's not based off of that. So when I got to Nebraska, it like opened my eyes to, because I played with 4-stars and 5-stars in high school. I was only a 3-star. So like, and that just was really just based off offers. So when I got there, it was just kind of like, it's just based off. Oh, okay. Like, and I think that's the unfortunate part. And I think honestly, like, schools feel obligated to have to offer kids because of who else is offering them, like
Matt Rule had a big speech on that too, right? Kind of like talking about some of the Nebraska recruits, and he went on a long tangent of it, but he's like, listen, no one's going to talk about the Nebraska recruits that I missed if I'm winning games. As soon as, we start losing games, then we'll talk about the kids in state that I missed. But that kind of just circles back to this 105 now. Like, just because, he's an in-state kid and he's got stars, does he fit your system? If he doesn't fit your system, you're not going to want to waste it. And just because it's an in-state kid, time will tell if it's a miss or not. But a lot of the times, it's not just because they're passing up on him because they don't think he's good. They're passing up on him because what they have in place for him doesn't fit him the best. And, at least when I'm Matt Rule, and this could be me just taking too much of his word, but I'd imagine he's pretty straight with the guys he's recruiting. And if he doesn't think that his school's the best fit, I think he'll just tell them that flat out, even if that kid does have some interest at Nebraska.
Yeah, I think the dynamic with the 105, like you said, it will have to change, and maybe there'll be maybe someone in the Rivals landscape is listening to, or the 24/7 is listening to this, and they'll make some adjustments based on these comments.
Yeah, they listen to good old Ticket Saturdays, change the minds of the college football world. No, I think we've learned, Chancellor Brewington, that what moves the needle in college football has been money, time and time again. We talked about it. I think it had to have been Thursday before, I took off for my one-day weekend here. Was the 16-team playoff is just pretty indicative that money drives the decision about every time here.
Yeah, we didn't. We only talked about it for like, maybe 50 seconds last show.
We jammed it in there at the very end.
Yeah, so 6. So it goes from 12. So originally it was 4, right?
Yep.
And then did we ever go to 8? Or was
No,
it
so it's straight to 12.
Straight to 12? Wow. So you go from 4 to 12 to 16. I mean, you want to throw it into 32? We could go 32.
I think we're going for 64, and then we'll get the NIT next to it.
Oh my goodness. No, I think we talked about it, and I want to hit on this some more, is the gap between 1 and 16.
Yeah.
And how big that is. Like that's ginormous. I mean, you can't even imagine. I mean, think about the Bama day, like the Bama teams, like of like the 2015 through like 2018, 2019. Think about like those dominant Bama teams with Tua or Devontae Smith, or even before that, Jalen Hurts and Jerry Jeudy and Derrick Henry, like all those, I mean, just phenomenal football teams, but also phenomenal players. Imagine them going and playing. I mean, a 16 ranked team during that time would be like a Oklahoma State, or like a University of like Utah, or like like an average, above average Washington team, right?
Well, this year it would have been AP poll. It would be Ohio State and Illinois. I think everybody's picking Ohio State, but that's just going straight off the AP poll, because we also talked about this. You know, your 16 probably isn't going to be Illinois. You know, it's going to be, because you got to get those non-cons in there, and then the problem is you're going to be stuck with do you take a 3-loss Illinois, or do you take a 1-loss school that's in a weaker conference? And there's going to be a lot more of the schools with 1 or 2 losses. It just gets murky, you know. And if you unless you decide to load it up with Big Ten and SEC, which they're trying to do that as well with the 16-team playoff, then I guess, yeah, no, you can do it. But I mean, we're really just loading up on these 2 power conferences in the Big Ten and the SEC, which is good for us. It's good for me and, you know, everyone who roots for Nebraska, and good for, you know, SEC fans. But it really screws over like every other conference. Not even just like, you know, the other Power Fours that aren't named the Big Ten and SEC, and then certainly the Group of 5 schools. Like, we already see enough stories of these Group of 5 schools just shutting down athletic programs altogether because they can't afford the just insane NIL era with no guardrails around it.
Right. I think about this, Harrison. So I mentioned 2016, right? So let's say this format was, you know, that was the 16 playoff team rule was the format back then. Mm-hmm. That would be remember that Clemson team with Deshaun Watson, Mike Williams, who else was on that?
What year is this? I'm trying to think of who
you said. I said the Clemson team. Yeah. So imagine, so they were the number 1 ranked team, right? And then the 16 was Virginia Tech, and the 15 was Western Michigan. So Western Michigan would have to be playing number 2 Bama at the time, right? That's the Derrick Henry squad. Yeah. They would have to be playing Alabama, and they would probably get beat by 35 or 40 points. And Virginia Tech would probably get beat by Clemson pretty badly too. So and that's a 10-4 Virginia Tech team. So it's almost like, and this is what's going to happen, Harrison, and I don't want it to happen, but it's just the nature of the game, is that you play, the more games you're going to play, the more risk for injuries. And so when you go and play these playoff teams, well, now what is going to happen to the conference championship game? Because that's another add-on game that you play, and that game also affects the rankings. And so, like, you're going to add on another game after that. That would be like the 1 through 116, 215, 314. And then you have to go and play, you know, the next level. And then it's like this whole big thing. Now, if you're going to do that, you better give them at least 2 weeks off, or a week off, or something.
Yeah. And this is where it gets, you know, ridiculous. At some point, we all love football, but like the student part seems to get lost more and more in the fold. Like, yes, it's good that these guys are getting the opportunity in the NIL, but with the NIL now, it seems like the student part is just completely fallen over to the side. If they extend it to 16, like to your point, you're going to have to add more weeks to it. You don't you have to play these games in somewhat of a quick succession just to get through the end of it. And I wouldn't be surprised if they try to push it to 18, to your point, like 24 down the road here. And we're just going to have a point where these guys are going to be playing football year round. And it's going to be impossible for them to really focus on the student part of things. Where are you at on that for you anyways? Like, I don't know. Is that something that is kind of a made up story when it comes to balancing that student part of things? Because when you were there at the University of Nebraska, was it ever hard to balance those two things with the seasons going as late as they did? And I know I don't mean this in the worst way. I understand that you didn't have the bowling seasons either at the end of it, but imagine if you're in the college football playoffs, this thing would just drag on forever.
Yeah, well, I think, and if you're going to add on a game, I mean, usually it's like the second week in February, you have the championship game. If you make it to the championship, that's probably going to be like the third week in February, or beginning of March. Like, whenever that gets dragged out. But no, I think that's a real thing that I don't think a lot of people talk about. And I know for sure when I was there, that was it's always tough. Like, it's always, especially for younger guys, like freshmen, like I feel like I got the hang of like how to balance football and school, because you also have to balance life outside of football and school, right? Mm-hmm. Like, because you're human beings, so the emotional component with relationships with your family, girlfriends, whatever it is, right? Like,
what were you doing, man?
I mean, yeah,
you made it plural college, there, man. Okay.
Well, I had different girlfriends at different times.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, that's what I was looking for. I thought you were changing how I thought about you there for a second.
Not multiple girlfriends. Yeah. Or if that's what you do, hey, teach his own. That's going to be even more hectic. So I don't know how. That's just too much on the plate. But no, like, I think I finally balanced that out, like, really, like, junior year, where, like, I was like, okay, like, I kind of really know how to schedule my weeks the perfect way, to where, like, I know how to meet with my academic advisor. I know how to go to, like, because you have to log in hours at study hall. I used to have to get like 6 hours a week at study hall, and then, or 8 hours a week at study hall. Then you have to make sure you're doing treatment, and then you have to make sure, you're eating, and you have to make sure that, you're not late to class, do your homework. You make sure you're early to practice, get warmed up, stay late after practice, but also get home in time to write that paper that's due, whatever, or prepare that presentation. So it's not talked about because it's not glamorous. And, at schools like Nebraska, there's so many resources, though. Like, at smaller schools, there's a real struggle there. But, like, at Nebraska, it's a lot easier to get good grades and maintain GPAs and stuff like that.
Well said. We got a few more minutes left here. Do you got anything left to add on college football before I throw some basketball stuff at you?
I'm excited for this year. I think there will be a lot of change after this year because, the whole players getting paid as kind of like employees of the university. So it's more salary based and based on depth. And, there's just going to be more gadgets that come into play, and you're going to see, I think, coaches and GMs and ADs and NCAA, I don't know about them, but they're going to see like holes in the system, and there's going to be, like, the GM, like, that fills a gap to where, like, that fills a position that needed to be covered, dealing with players, dealing with agents, all that good stuff. So there's going to be some new things, and I'm telling you, the Tinder for transfer portal guys is going to be a hit. I'm telling you, Harrison.
Get on it, man. Start getting you find a few programmers, pay them.
I'm going to Silicon Valley with that.
There you go. I actually think I heard the new Silicon might be in Texas, though. Apparently, I'm not entirely sure in the tech world of things, but with that being said, we'll just talk about that a little bit, and then we'll leave the basketball stuff for segment 2 and 3. I will say Pat Stewart, getting him in the building, I think that might have been I think Dana, you could say, is the best move, but that might be best move number 2 is getting him in that building, because with the NCAA, how they were talking about the 105 roster. We're kind of talking about like that is facts, but now there's conversation about, well, maybe we can grandfather some of these people in here. It's just insane, how much those conversations go back and forth with that settlement coming up here. To get Stewart there, for him to pay attention to that, and he's the guy to deal with that, that frees up so much room for Matt Rule to do what he needs to do as the head coach. I think that was just a genius move to get ahead of that. And do you think, flash forward 2 years, we're going to, it's going to be hard to find a school that doesn't have a GM, at least that school in the Power Four? It almost feels like a must now.
Yeah, for sure. There's not going to be either they call it a GM or they call it something else, but there will be a position where there's a mediator between player and agent and coach relationship.
It's got to. Otherwise, it's got to be, the operation's getting too big at this point. Like, even the coaching staff that you had when you were playing is noticeably smaller than what the coaching staff is at Nebraska now. And it's just like with NIL, it's just going to get bigger and bigger. It's becoming, it's becoming more and more the NFL at this point. You just still got the student athlete in front of it. And that kind of goes all the way back to the very beginning are we losing a little bit of that student part? But with that being said, we'll put a pin on football. On the other side, Brewington, I want to talk to you on Nebraska basketball. And of course, the NBA had another great OT game last night. But Nebraska basketball, they get a big-time recruit. I haven't talked to you about it, so don't go anywhere. What's Brewing? Chance Brewington. We got Brewington on the Allo VIP line. Harrison Arns back at the Ticket Studios. We'll talk to you in a little bit.
Big news from your Nebraska lottery. Mega Millions is now more mega than ever. First off, a new multiplier is built into the game. Plus, there are now bigger jackpots, better odds, and prizes start at $10. So don't miss out on these fantastic enhancements. Visit your favorite Nebraska lottery retailer today and play Mega Millions with the new built-in multiplier, bigger jackpots, better odds, and prizes starting at $10. Drawings Tuesdays and Fridays. $5 Mega Millions top prize odds, 1 in 290 million.
93.7 The Ticket is your home for every Kansas City Royals baseball game. Bobby Witt Jr., Salvador Perez, Vinny Pasquantino, and the rest of the Royals attempt to make the postseason for the second season in a row. And you can hear all the action on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Your home for Kansas City Royals baseball.
Their ways, but they can also be quick to change their minds. Just 10 minutes can be enough to step back and rethink the life-ending decision of suicide. If you have a friend or family member who's struggling with depression, talk to them about temporarily storing their guns away from their home. Paid for by the University of Nebraska Public Policy Center. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association in this station.
This is how we do every day. We be grinding, and if you wanna come and text us,
if you love them enough to turn off your music and pretend like their music is your music.
This is Mommy's jam.
Then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
Let's play it again.
Check today at nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
1 in 3 adults has prediabetes. 1 in 3. That means it could be you, your football buddy, your football buddy, or you, your best man, your worst man, you, your dog walker, your cat jogger. While 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes, with early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. Take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org. That's doihaveprediabetes.org.
Wait, did they just say 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes? That's 33.33333% of adults. That means it could be me, my boss, or my boss's boss, or me, my favorite sister, or my other sister. That's 7 members of my 21-person romantic book club. Wait, the 1 in 3 could be me, my karaoke partner Carol, or my karaoke enemy Jeff. I'm going to take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Brought to you by the Ad Council and its Prediabetes Awareness Partners.
On the Block with Eric Strickland, Jay Foreman, and Austin Orman.
The goal for those coming on the road, let's go get that first. And then here's what'll happen. There'll be you'll kind of be lackadaisical. Instead of keeping that energy, why not instead of keeping that energy, you'll probably see just a little bit more ease of play. because in the psyche, we did what we came to do.
Every weekday from 3 to 5 on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Hi, this is Pastor Tom. Did you know there's a place kids can seek out help when they're away from home and something goes wrong? They find themselves in a difficult spot or even a dangerous situation. Maybe another child is bullying them or a stranger is following them. Perhaps on a date and things just go bad. In Lincoln, here's where they can find help. It's called Safe Place. Safe Place is a national program for children taking place in thousands of cities across the United States. The People Seeding Mission is sponsoring this program in our community and has set up a number of businesses, fire stations, schools, and nonprofits around the city to become safe locations where kids can seek out help. They just need to look for the big yellow sign that says Safe Place on it. Then go inside and ask for help. We will be quickly connected to them and ensure they make it back home or to whatever resources are needed. If you'd like to find out more about Safe Place and ways in which you can get involved, just go to pcmlincoln.org. Remember, when we all do a little, we change a lot.
Are you ready for a new opportunity? Check out Sandhills Global. Join a dynamic team where your skills are valued and your career can soar. We offer full-time positions with a 4.5-day work week, competitive pay, excellent benefits, and a positive work environment. From IT and marketing to sales and finance, we're looking for talented individuals like you. Apply today at sandhills.jobs and take the first step towards an exciting future. That's sandhills.jobs. Don't wait. Apply now.
Early break.
Weird things that freaks me out. Unleaded gas still. It says unleaded. There hasn't been leaded gas for 40 years. Why does it say unleaded gas? It should just say gas. There hasn't been leaded gas since the 70s. It freaks me out, but it should just say gas. And you can pick what hey, we have this, we have the premium, we have
with Steve Sipple, Jake Sorensen, and Bill Bush from 6 to 9 every weekday morning on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Back to What's Brewing with Chancellor Brewington on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Powered by the Teammates Mentoring Program.
All right, welcome back in to What's Brewing, Chancellor Brewington, segment number 2. We got Brewington on the Allo VIP line. We really understand the importance of exceptional service with a local heart. Chancellor Brewington, did you hear about the Nebraska basketball recruit from the lands of Iceland?
I didn't. You said Iceland?
Iceland, yeah, indeed.
Oh, I thought I heard you. I thought my connection was wrong.
No, yeah, we got what do you call it? A Nordic, somewhere up there,
okay.
Scandinavian. I think so.
And
I
so
could be totally wrong on my geography with that one, so don't quote me on it. But it is.
We've been overseas quite a bit in recruiting the past 3-4 years, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Fred Hoiberg's good at it. He's good at finding the guys overseas, it seems like. And Frank Mass turned out fantastic. Keisei Tamanaga turned out fantastic. So I'm not going to, so far it's worked out in terms of finding the guys overseas for recruiting. And the one that we got is 7'1" center. I could be saying his first name incorrectly here. I think it's Friedrich. I'm not entirely sure. Leo Curtis from Iceland. He did play some pro ball in Iceland already, and he's also had some time here in the U.S. So he came to the U.S. and he's been playing some time here at the United States, already at the Cambridge Arts, Technology, and Science Academy in Massachusetts. So he has been in the U.S. for a bit, but he also played quite a bit of pro ball in Iceland. So at 19, he played professionally in Iceland for the 2023-24 season. He averaged 15.4 points a game, 8.9 rebounds, 1.7 blocks, and the best part, 65% field goal percentage. So really efficient with it as well. I know you haven't probably watched tape or anything on him yet, but just getting the 7'1" guy, especially with, we struggled last year without Rink Mass, just wasn't quite getting it done with, Bird Eucton gel or whichever kind of lineup we wanted to try to throw in there. You get Curtis in here. We'll just go by his last name, 7'1" center out of Iceland. He was incredibly efficient at 65%. How much does that move the needle for this Nebraska basketball team? Because you also got to remember, we had quite a few other guys. We got Jared Garcia out of Tulsa, Kendall Blue, St. Thomas, Will Cooper, Air Force, and we got Jamarcus Lawrence. He's coming back from Nebraska to Rhode Island, now back to Nebraska. And then who am I missing here? And then Sanford from Iowa as well, who really hurt us a couple of times this year.
I think obviously with, Juwan Gary gone and Bryce Williams gone. I don't know if there's anyone else I'm missing.
Braxton Mia, he's gone as well.
Yeah, so with those guys gone, it's like you're gonna have a new identity because the core, like that was really the core of your team, and so maybe the new identity is that they're a team that runs their offense through their big, or it's gonna have to change, of course, and of course you got the shooter. I'm gonna butcher his name. Esegan.
Connor Esegan.
Esegan, yeah. So having him come back is big. He got hot later in the year, was decent in the tournament as well. So to have some guys come back is great, obviously. But to add a 7-footer and seems like he can play, probably played under pressure in some pro games, and maybe was, in the way I look at it, is maybe he was a target on those pro teams, being one of the younger guys, or maybe he was an average, age guy. I'm not sure, but just having that under your belt is probably a great tool. I don't know how it could be a negative. Definitely a positive. So I'm sure there's something in the works, and I'm sure the transfer portal will be hot this offseason.
If I know anything, though, I'll tell the man. We saw it with Luka. That pro experience does wonders for you. American diet, not so much. So when he does get here, you got to keep him, whatever he's eating at Iceland, let's keep it that way. Because I don't know, it's serious with the guys that come overseas, like the food, like with Luka in particular. I know it's like kind of tired conversation, but you go look at him like earlier in his NBA career and what he is now, like the conditioning for whatever part got really lost with him. And I think it might have had an effect on your Los Angeles Lakers, as he just wasn't playing great. And when LeBron's up there at his age, you need somebody else to carry that load and also just do it efficiently, and I felt like a lot of moments his legs just weren't underneath him because conditioning wasn't all the way there. But that being said, go ahead. Go for it.
I just one more point on that. If you go, I don't know if you can do this, Harrison, while we're talking, but if you pull up a rookie picture of Luka, I saw him talking to Jalen Brunson in a game. Like, it was like a clip on Instagram. He was talking to Jalen Brunson in a game, and I was like, "Oh, who's this dude talking to Jalen Brunson?" And then he turned around, bro, and it was Luka. I saw Doncic on the back, and I was like, "Bro, he looks like a completely different person. He looks like a very, very, very out of weight man compared to how he came in the league." So that goes straight into the point that you're making about the food. I don't know if it's the food, the processed food, the high sodium, or I don't know what it is, but that is a real thing.
I think I could say it's probably a lot of the processed goodies that we have around here.
Yeah,
some stats don't lie, Brewington. I'll say that much. But yeah, it's crazy. Go look at, and if you don't believe us, just look at him his rookie year. He looks way more athletic, and I get some of that comes with youth, but a lot of that, it doesn't take a whole lot of brain power to figure out if you weigh less, you get in the air a little bit easier. But we'll leave Luka alone on that one. I'm sure it's going to be a conversation all off season heading into it, so we'll leave it for that. NBA playoffs, though, we had a thriller last night, and then what do we got? 2 games tonight, I believe, or is it just one again? We got at 2:30.
We got 2 tonight.
Yeah, Celtics Knicks 2:30, which is perfect timing for me. I'll be able to catch that one. And Timberwolves Warriors at 7:30. But last night, the Thunder, after getting absolutely smacked in game 2, and then the Thunder able to tie the series 1-1, they scrape away with a win at home court. Took overtime to do it. A really bad game from Jokic shooting wise, but some other big names really stepped up. SGA also really a bad game for the guys who are fighting for MVP. Nobody wanted it, or nobody really proved it last night, but all the role players were really stepping up for him. I'm assuming you watched it. What were you surprised to see the Thunder win game 3 and tie back up after that was the absolute beatdown they took in game 2?
Yeah, well, I thought the OKC was going to run away with another one, but it's great that Denver won. I'm really so neutral on this series. I want the Nuggets to win, but I also there's part of me that wants to see the young guns take the former champs down. So like I'm split, but I like this was definitely this is what makes playoff basketball because Shea Gill goes 7 for 22, 1 from 6 for 3, has 18 points, although he does have 13 rebounds and 7 assists, so pretty well-rounded game. And then Jokic goes 8 from 25 from the field and 0 from 10 from 3, although he has 16 rebounds and 6 assists, but he only ends up with 20 points. So it's like these the quote-unquote role players or the quote-unquote the other guys have to fill in where, Jalen Williams, he has 32. Who else? Chet had 18, which, I mean, it was whatever, but especially for the Nuggets who come away with the dub, you get Aaron Gordon with 22. Michael Porter Jr., we talked about him a couple games ago where he only had like 3 points.
Yeah, he was
on
big
a big
for him last night.
Yeah, on a big Jokic night. He ends up having 21, and your guy
5
Jamal
for
Murray.
6 from 3 too with Michael Porter Jr.
Yeah.
That was the best thing. I mean, he looked like he wasn't going to miss anytime he got an open look.
And your guy Jamal Murray, man, 27 points, 9 from 19, efficient game, and overall the Nuggets shot 40% from 3. So it's like it's beautiful because that's what playoff basketball is all about. Is when your top guy isn't playing the way he usually does, somebody has to step up, and that's why the Nuggets is such a dangerous team because Aaron Gordon's playing really good ball, Michael Porter Jr. is playing good ball, and it seems like Jamal Murray's kind of heating up right now.
Yeah, Jamal Murray just heats up. It seems like if he hit overtime, Jamal Murray wins. It seems like that's just he just because he wasn't playing real great either throughout most of that game. And then down the stretch, he certainly picked it up. Jokic never really quite did on the offensive end, except for that overtime stretch. You finally saw the two-man game between Jokic and Jamal Murray start working efficiently the way you usually see it throughout the regular season. But it took a long time to get to that. But we do got to talk about Aaron Gordon. I mean, another big-time shot, buzzer beater essentially at the very end, descended in the overtime, hits the corner 3. That is now 3, you could argue not buzzer beater, but it's basically to send it to OT or win the game shots for Aaron Gordon. I mean, he had that wasn't supposed to be an alley-oop finish, buzzer beater. Then he hit the big-time 3 already at one point in time. Was that game 1 versus the Thunder?
Yep.
Yeah, and now game 3 versus the Thunder. He hits another big-time 3, just a few more steps to the left, but still kind of in that corner spot. You remember Andre Iguodala on the Warriors through all those runs? That's what Aaron Gordon reminds me of. Like, he's not this three-point shooter, but he's a great finisher, and he's this phenomenal defense player at times. Andre was better at that regard. But then whatever it is, when the moment's really big, Aaron Gordon has been what Andre Iguodala was for those Warriors. Like, he is just nailing the big-time shots, despite what all the numbers said in the regular season. He feels like one of the best bets for a three-point shot, like late in the game. Like, you're almost pulling a Max Kellerman. I want Aaron Gordon as opposed to Andre Iguodala. Like, that's how good it's getting. Like, did you see this at all coming out of Aaron Gordon? Like, I know he plays great with Jokic, his ability to finish and cut at the back rim, but I mean, he's hitting big-time threes in the series as well and shooting it at a really good clip.
Yeah, I'm looking at postseason stats. When the past 3 years, he's shot 40% from 3, and he's having, I mean, even from the free throw line, I mean, he shoots like 90%. And so I think there's a tough conversation with this, and we've seen it all throughout the NBA for literally since the beginning of time, is that when these role players start like playing like this, like that means their value starts going up. And I don't know when Aaron Gordon's contract is up, but if he keeps playing like this during the playoffs, like he's going to be a topic of conversation on can he be like can he be a number 3 guy or possibly a number 2 on a team. So I think it's big for the Nuggets, of course. I didn't particularly see this out of Aaron Gordon. I think prior to the playoffs, the way like we went into these conversations was more so like Jamal Murray being the guy who closes games and stuff like that. But for Aaron Gordon to do it is awesome.
hear me out on this. Let's have some fun here with the Giannis sweepstakes again. I think you and me both agree that he wants out of Milwaukee. Statue is going to be really awkward if that does happen. But if he goes to the Nuggets, and because you'll probably have to move a piece like Gordon if you get Giannis. But if the Nuggets want to do that, they'd have to move some other pieces around to make the capital work. But they also got some contracts that they're going to need to kind of fix the roster as well. You put Jokic and Giannis together.
Oh boy, you might have to get rid of. You think you would have to get rid of what's his name, Brewing?
You'd want to keep Brown on there because you're going to want to keep that spacing.
I know you want to, but would you have to?
You probably would have to, him or Michael Porter Jr., but I think they'll probably take Brown because Michael Porter Jr.'s injury history. And just to make the money make sense. I'm not sure. I'd still have to figure out, like, could you pull that off with the amount of contracts they have money-wise, if that still adds up? Because you don't, if you're touching Jamal Murray as well, you're not going to want to make that move. If you got to get rid of Aaron Gordon, Jamal Murray, and, bunch of picks on top of that, I'm not entirely sure. But I do think, that's going to be the fun part of Jokic in these next 5 years. Because the Thunder, they're really good right now, but they'll have another big piece there eventually, especially if they start, if they lose again this year against the Thunder, they're going to really think about what do we need. They'll probably be thinking another star to kind of bump up that roster. And with Giannis, we're just kind of waiting and seeing where does he want to go. Maybe it is Milwaukee. Neither of us are betting on it being Milwaukee, but plenty more fun things to talk about. We still got 2 more NBA games later today that I want to talk about as well. So we'll talk about that on the final and third segment of What's Brewing with Chancellor Brewington. We still got the Power Hour with Todd Euler from 1 to 2, so be sure to tune in for that one as well. But like I said, one more segment. Don't go anywhere.
This is it, Husker fans, your final chance to see Nebraska baseball at home this season. It starts Tuesday, May 6th with a huge rivalry matchup against Creighton. Then it's a Big Ten showdown as the Huskers host Michigan May 9th through 11th. Every game matters and your support can make the difference. Great seats are still available, but they're going fast. Get your tickets today at huskers.com/tickets or by calling 1-800-8-BIG-RED.
If you're a veteran, our nation has created a wide range of benefits to thank you for your service, but it can be difficult to navigate the process of determining eligibility, filing claims, appealing decisions, and securing the benefits you've earned. Speak to your county veteran service officer or the Nebraska Department of Veterans Affairs State Service Office to see what's available to you and your family. These services are 100% free, so visit veterans.nebraska.gov today. Sponsored by the Nebraska Department of Veterans Affairs, aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Cuando me dijo que se le estaban olvidando las cosas, fue difícil. Un día me dijeron que pintara el marco del lado por dentro y pinté el lado de afuera.
Yo le diría a la gente que le diga a su familia lo que está pasando con él.
Si algo se nota diferente, podría ser Alzheimer. Es momento de hablarlo. Visita alz.org/nuestras historias para saber más. Un mensaje de The Alzheimer's Association y The Ad Council.
Batter up! Join us this summer at Haymarket Park for 50 action-packed Salt Dogs games running now through August. Visit saltdogs.com for updates on everything you need to know about weekly promotions, giveaways, and special events. That's where you'll find the latest updates to make sure you catch all the excitement and never miss a homestand you want to attend. Haymarket Park is your ticket to fun all summer long. Visit saltdogs.com to get your tickets and unleash the fun.
I could tell something wasn't right. My buddy Jake just wasn't himself. He seemed down. I was concerned about him and asked if he was thinking about suicide.
We all have a role in preventing suicide. Know the warning signs. They may not seem like themselves, be depressed, withdrawn, stressed, agitated, or talking about suicide. Call, text, or chat 988 for 24/7 support. Paid for by the University of Nebraska Public Policy Center, aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Early break. Weird things that freaks me out. Unleaded gas still. It says unleaded. There hasn't been leaded gas for 40 years. Why does it say unleaded gas? It should just say gas. There hasn't been leaded gas since the 70s. It freaks me out, but it should just say gas. You can pick what, like the Hey, we have this. We have the premium. We have
with
the
Steve
85.
Sipple, Jake Sorensen, and Bill Bush from 6 to 9 every weekday morning on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
I get it, slip it, cuff it, check it twice a day.
I get it, slip it, cuff it, check it in the morning and before dinner.
I get it, slip it, cuff it, check it, and share it with my doctor. Nearly 1 in 2 U.S. adults have high blood pressure. That's why it's important to self-monitor your blood pressure in 4 easy-to-remember steps. It starts with a monitor.
Now that I know my blood pressure numbers, I talked with my doctor. We're getting those numbers down.
Get it, slip it, cuff it, check it. Talk to doctor now and share it.
Be next to talk to your doctor about your blood pressure numbers. Get down with your blood pressure. Self-monitoring is power. Learn more at manageyourbp.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council, the American Heart Association, and the American Medical Association, in partnership with the Office of Minority Health and Health Resources and Services Administration.
Hey racing fans, this is Brie Marie inviting you to join me and James Rowland for the Finish Line every Sunday night from 7 to 8 p.m. Catch up with the local dirt track drivers, national racers, and everyone you need to know about in the world of racing. Don't spin your wheels, hit the gas, and join us Sundays at 7 p.m. for the Finish Line on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
My early Alzheimer's diagnosis was hard to take.
But it gave my mom and me more time to plan, together.
Talk to your family about seeing a doctor. Go to alz.org/time to talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Back to What's Brewing with Chancellor Brewington on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Powered by the Teammates Mentoring Program.
All right, welcome in. Final segment. What's Brewing? Chance Brewington. He's on the Outlaw VIP line, and we got 2 NBA games on today's slate that we have yet to talk about. The Celtics and the Knicks. That series, Knicks leading it 2-0. That one 2:30 today, and then the Timberwolves and Warriors. That one tied up 1-1. No Steph Curry yet as well, and that one's at 7:30. Chance Brewington, which game you want to talk about first here?
So Celtics Knicks is interesting because they go back to New York, right?
Yeah. Being down 2-0. And we talked about that salary on Thursday as well. I mean, if they keep that team together, that's $500 million next year.
Right. So I think, Celtics got to figure something out tonight because it's going to be an embarrassment. If they go 3-1, if they go 3-0, they're going to lose the series, of course. Celtics going to lose, of course. Because I don't see them winning 4 straight. Whether they force it to like a healthy game 6 or game 7. If they get swept in this series, I know that's a stretch and we're jumping to, kind of 2 games down the road. But if they get swept in the series, I mean, nobody's going to be happy paying that tax that you were talking about. And there's going to be some moves made in the offseason for sure.
I know. And I mean, the question is, it just goes back to Tatum and Brown. What? In the fact that they're down 2-0 right now, just like, what are you seeing? Like, how is this team on paper as good as they are down 2-0 right now to the Knicks? And it's healthy. This is a healthy Celtics team.
Yeah.
Except for Derek. Is Derek White? I should double check that, actually. Either way, for the most part, all their stars are healthy.
Well, I mean, to be honest, it's just your star player isn't playing up to his standard, and it doesn't help that other people are struggling as well. They're struggling shooting the ball right now, and it seems like the Knicks just have their number. And I don't know if that's a great explanation. The Knicks just have their number, but it doesn't seem like it's like that Celtics team that won it last year during their run. They just like had like a different pop to them, like just a little pep in their step, and almost had like something they were really like trying to accomplish. With this Celtics team, it just kind of looks like you're not going. It's almost like going through the motions a little bit, and you're like you were talking about settling for shots. And yeah, that's the way I see it.
Yeah, I'm not at that point where they just got to stop settling for so many damn jumpers. Like if I'm Joe Mazzulla, that's the first thing on the board is well, and, we're leaving games, shooting 45 threes after we missed 12 straight. Maybe the 13th one pulling up 10 seconds into the shot clock isn't the shot we want. And that's where Brown and Tatum are, I think, really hurting themselves with the amount of threes. And I could see the same thing about Jokic in that game versus Thunder last night, but he was lucky enough where his teammates picked up the slack. But, Jokic going 0 for 10. There's something about these stars to try to get their offense going, especially when they miss the first few. It's like they just want to take a three to try to get it going. And then you end up, in Jokic's case, who I still think is the MVP, he goes 0 for 10. And then it just really gets hard to get that confidence going in that shot. And it wasn't until later where for him, the offense, once again, didn't come from 3-point shot. He found that rhythm getting it to the rim a few times. And that's where Tatum and Brown, I think their biggest mistakes are coming from, is like both of those guys are like, that's their, maybe not so much Brown, but certainly Tatum. Like that's kind of his bread and butter, at least to me, is his ability to just use his strength and his wingspan to go downhill and attack. And he's also got a good mid-range feel to it. So, that's the only thing I really see it is like they just seem to be settling for a ton of 3-point shots. And the Knicks are walking out of all these games with more points in the paint. Next series, then we'll get out of here. Timberwolves Warriors. Without Steph, I'm going to go Timberwolves again.
Yeah, I'll go T-Wolves. I think a big like stardom night from Anthony Edwards. I think it's going to be one of those games where this is the defining momentum shift of the series, and it's going to tip towards the T-Wolves, and they're going to run away with it. And I think Anthony Edwards, it's going to be a game like a 45-point night or a 38-point night, and with some electric plays and him kind of stepping into like who he is, because we kind of have seen like some up and down play from him the last 2 games. So it would be fun to see it.
Over unders 26.5. Which one are you going with for Anthony Edwards? Total points.
I'm going over tonight.
I like it. Yeah, I'm also slamming the over on that, but I'm not telling people to go out there and bet. When I say that, I don't actually ever go out there and bet. I just think it's fun to follow the numbers of it. So with that being said, Chancellor Brewington, appreciate it as always on a Saturday as well. I'll talk to you again on Monday. We got Todd Euler, another former Husker, the Power Hour coming up next. Don't go anywhere. We'll talk to you guys on the other side.